Alright guys, I'm out here testing a new swing fly actually, which is new for me. And I just cracked a nice big chunky smallmouth. Booyah. So this is the new swing fly. I had a customer of mine ask me to tie up a Paul Miller Steelhead Fly, which is a Rhea based, kind of shanked stinger hook style swing fly. And I was like, this would be epic made out of Flashabou. That's the long story short. So it's a Flashabou MicroLon synthetic swing fly, and hopefully we get a few more fish like that. Check it out. What's going on, everybody? Gunnar here, and today I want to walk you through a really simple kind of steelhead swing fly. And obviously I was testing it on some smallmouth bass, and we'll get to that actually at the end. I want to have a little discussion on maybe flies, style, species, all that kind of presentation stuff. But I'm not going to bore you with that at the beginning. But long story short, I had a customer asked me to tie a Paul Miller Steelhead Fly, and he sent me a sample, and I was able to look at it, and it's just Cactus Chenille, Rhea, and a Guinea fowl hackle, and it's just 1, 2, 3. You basically break up a 40mm shank in 2/3 and rinse and repeat, and it builds really an amazing teardrop shape when it gets wet. You have all of this water push. Your Cactus Chenille acts like your kind of thread bump dam that you would have almost on an intruder, and it has this really amazing natural movement. And so for my variation, understand that I'm imitating this platform, Paul Miller's platform. I tied this up and I was like, you know what? This would be killer tied out of Flashabou. Swing it for smallmouth, swing it for walleye, swing it for trout, obviously steelhead, coho, whatever you're doing, river situation, swing presentation. I thought, more of a synthetic base, maybe a cold weather fly if you're fishing sub-freezing temperatures, whatever. I just wanted a little bit more flash, a little bit more reactionary, and Rhea's really expensive. And these flies use like almost half a plume, like one whole half of the side of the feather to tie the pattern. So a little bit of just a simple material substitution, and I want to walk you through it. So what I want you guys to understand real quick before we jump into this is Paul Miller's fly, straight up. Like, I'm same technique, same platform, same everything, shank length, braid, hook point up, stinger hook. I'm simply imitating it, and it's super important, especially when you're doing something new to you, to find something of inspiration, somebody that you're drawn to, a style of fly that you really like, right? I tied this for a customer, but I was like, wow, this is genius. This is an awesome fly design, and I wonder what I can build off of his platform. So first, imitate, then try to manipulate and innovate and have your own taste on it. And so everything you're about to see really belongs to Paul Miller. I'm just gonna kind of dink around and show you guys a synthetic version, a little bit easier on your material costs. They're gonna last a lot longer. It's a little bit more durable being synthetic based, and it handles cold weather better because the Rhea could freeze up and break. So your synthetics are going to be able to handle colder weather situations. And so let's jump into this bad boy. And then at the end, there's going to be a few fishing clips. And I want to talk about some predator-prey rationale and streamer design. So check it out. So I'll run you through a really quick material list. This is Flymen's, and all this is in the description, so you can open that up and check all this out. But this is Flymen Fishing Company's 40mm steelhead articulated shank. This is going to be a size 2 Ahrex hook, home run trailer hook. Size 2 home run trailer hook, and I'm doing that hook point up, articulated with 50-pound Power Pro, just loop to loop through the hook eye, and we're going to put that right on top, split that, and I measure this off my vise. This is how Paul Miller had it set up. It sits right on my material clip, so that the point is on the back of my material clip, which is, for all you guys who are super technical, 1.5 inches. So it's 1.5 inches back there. By the way, I had no issues with that fouling at all, or tangling with the synthetics. It was actually really phenomenal. And then this is just Pearl Chenille in size medium black. That's going to be our body, which is going to create our thread dam and push and flare all of our materials. We have MicroLon in orange. The color is 4315. 4315. If you go to Hedron Inc.'s website, you can look up all these color combos specifically if you're going to order them from a retailer, or you can go directly through Hedron. And then our Flashabou blend is going to be, I think this is dyed pearl in yellow. It might just be straight yellow. 6971. This is original Flashabou for the size. Then we have barred Flashabou in the original size in 7105, which is barred yellow. And then to finish the fly, we're going to come in with some real fake jungle cock, and this is pink on one side, orange on the other. We're going to do orange on the outside for our hot spots, and we're going to do a top wing, a little flash wing over the back of the fly, and a dyed pearl black series original size Flashabou 6960. So that's all the materials. It's a really simple platform and fly. I'm tying with 140 denier power thread. You can use any big thread actually. We're going to do a slightly aggressive dubbing loop for all of our Flashabou blends, so it's kind of important that you have a thicker thread, but you can do what you want. Walk that back and close this gap, and we'll get this guy articulated. Always be careful around the edges of these wire shanks. They're usually pretty super sharp. I'm going to come in, hook point up, get my braid side by side. Got my hook point. The hook point is at 1.5 inches right over this material clip. And I got 2 wraps around that, and then I'm going to shove that braid down either side of my shank. Pinch that so it doesn't roll. And then I'm going to walk that down so that it splits this little bump, so you can see my braid. You can actually see the green right there between my thread wraps, and my shank isn't perfectly level. It's perfectly 50-50 on the side of that shank bump right there. Hit that with some serious thread right there at the back, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump up in front of this, run way up here, pull super tight, as tight as I can, get that some pressure. Walk that all the way back, run that all the way forward. Then when I get up here, it's obviously getting away from me a little bit, I'm gonna leave just a little tag in to run these guys doubled back so we don't have any issues pulling out. Now something that's really I like about the braid is the braid, it really kind of crimps down and gets locked down with your thread really well. And if you ever kind of mess up putting that on, you'll see it kind of compresses with your thread pressure. It's obviously nice and loose, and it's a little bit rough surface. The Power Pro kind of has like a little kind of rough coating to it that your thread can really dig into. You guys can hear that. And then I just soak that with some Zap Brushable, and that is never going anywhere ever. And it's a little bit easier than, you know, doubling it through your hook eye. And it keeps that hook eye a nice low profile so you can get a really clean thread head on this fly. That'll absorb pretty quickly here. So I'm going to come in with my dyed pearl size medium black Cactus Chenille. What you want to do, got some flies up here, you want to preen that off so that all you have is your nylon core. You see that? So this is basically like a little small dubbing brush with a nylon core. You want to preen that off so that when you tie this back, you're not tying down a bunch of material, you're just tying down the nylon cord. Keeps it super low profile, doesn't build any bulk. It's nice and clean, and it's the most durable way to kind of catch that and tie that in and also tie that off. So I just jumped in with a 1/2 hitch there. Gonna hold this off my hank here. One clean wrap, give that nylon some stretch to set that. And then this is intended to be walked forward extremely dense. You want to make a nice dense core, because this is, believe it or not, this is your water push. This is your
kind of material dam that's going to flare everything. This creates an entire core. It's actually really cool. If you when I was kind of fishing this fly, it's like if you tied, you know, a bulkhead deceiver, and every single bucktail tie you tied bulkhead style, and you had a nice long, whether you did a hackle tail or like a sheep, you know, Icelandic sheep tail or some long wispy fiber for your tail. It's like that. Like the entire core of this fly is really bulky, which is crazy because it's just Cactus Chenille, but it does an amazing job of pushing water relative to the size of the fly. So I got that trapped down. That's going to be our material bump. I'm going to come in, pull off a short dubbing loop, maybe like 4 or 5 inches at the most. Get that tied in, and it doesn't need to be, you know, too far forward, too far backwards, whatever. We're going to make a nice clean little hackle here using MicroLon and Flashabou. I'm going to hit this with some dub wax to control all my fibers so they don't slip out. The Flashabou can be pretty slippery. So I'm coming in with the yellow. Of every place where I like the flashiest material to be, it's actually the tail. If you kind of think about that, like the tail fin of a bait fish is probably the most transparent part, and it's also moving the fastest. So I'm going to come in, what is this? We'll go maybe 8 or 9 strands. Coming in with the barred yellow. 5 or 6 strands. Going to put these two together and just go ahead and cut those in half. Lay that in my lap here. Then I'm going to come in with my MicroLon. And of all the stacks that you wanted to go the sparsest with the MicroLon, the rear stack would be my preference. So I'm going to come in with maybe 15 fibers or so at full length, and we're going to cut that in half as well. Give that just a wee bit of taper here. Combine my Flashabou with that, give that a wee bit of taper. And then I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to roll the two kind of in my fingers together. And you don't have to do the best job blending this because it's going to get blended really well in the dubbing loop and then palmered on. And it actually goes on pretty darn evenly. So I'm going to get this wedged away here in my dubbing loop. And I'm going to put this so that it's asymmetrical. I don't want it exactly 50-50 because I'm trying to build a little bit of taper into this fly. So if you hold this up, I have probably maybe 70, maybe 65% of the fibers on this side and only 30 on that side. You can spin that up nice and slow. You don't have to be too crazy with your dubbing loops. It's a pretty limp, the MicroLon's pretty limp. It has amazing movement, and it's actually it's like woven nylon. That's how you get your strength. And so you want to come in and pick that out. If you spin that up too fast, it'll get trapped on the core. And you don't have to worry about spinning this up like for maximum durability, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't have to be the world's tightest dubbing loop, because what we're going to do is when we get this on the shank, I'm going to walk it forward pretty aggressively, kind of to where my thread is tied off. And when we catch our dubbing loop with my thread, I'm going to take my thread all the way back to that Cactus Chenille, which is going to flare all of this material, and it's also going to trap it down twice for durability. Come in, I'm going to wrap that under one more time. Catch that over, add some tension, leverage the two off each other, so I'm pulling down with my thread and up with my dubbing loop for leverage. Take my dubbing loop, draw that back, so that's tied down twice, clipped free, and now I'm actually going to spin my thread so it gets a little bit rounder so I can have a little bit more friction here. And then I'm going to tie down over top of all that material, and this is massive durability, right? So none of that can go anywhere. And now you're pinning that against your Cactus Chenille to get all of your flare. And then we're going to hide all of this mess, because this looks pretty disgusting, with red Guinea fowl, which I just now realized I forgot to mention at the beginning when I was going over all the materials. The Guinea fowl is red. And you need 3 plumes total to do the entire fly. So you can just pick those out right now if you find them. And Guinea fowl is kind of irritating to palmer just because it's the shank lies like a mallard flank. It's flat relative to how you're palmering it, so it doesn't really like to be palmer, but we're going to make it work. Tied in by the tips here. Should have got that out of the way. Walk that back. Walk that forward. I'm actually going to build up a little bit of thread here just so this slope isn't as severe. We're just going to hand turn this and preen those fibers back. You really want to preen these up and to the side at the same time here. And I'm going to treat this exactly how I treated my dubbing loop for durability. So we're going to walk this forward as we palmer it to get basically to our tie-off point. We're going for maybe 3 full turns here if I can get it. Right there is where I want that. Come in, add some tension, cut off our shaft, make sure that's spread evenly, and then wrap over all of that stem so that you don't have any exposed hackle stem that could break from a tooth or a fish or what's going on here. And you got maximum durability. It's going to help control the flare of that MicroLon, and it's going to help clean up all this nasty thread that we got going on. Bridge this gap here so that our taper is not too crazy. And then I'm going to come back in with my Cactus Chenille, size medium. Again, I'm preening the fibers off, so all I have is just the bare nylon. Catch that and walk this back. Stopping at the 2/3 mark here. Gonna get one nice clean wrap right here at the back. Cinch that down to lock that in place, and then we're just gonna touching turns, super dense. Preen this back every time you're trying to create this big bulky core right here. Now then, if you got hair clips, which are an amazing fly tying tool, kind of clip all that wing stuff out of your way so that it's not getting tangled when you're running this dubbing loop and spinning this dubbing loop up. That will get frustrating real quick. Half hitch that so you're locked in, more dubbing wax. This fly is a very, very simple rinse and repeat pattern, but for how simple it is, there's a lot of complexity that you can do color-wise because we're blending our Flashabou with our barred Flashabou, with our MicroLon, with our Guinea fowl. So there's one of those things that I like to do. It's like, obviously, the simpler a fly is, I think the better it is, right? But the more, I don't want to say complicated, but the more steps, the more materials, the more tie-in points you use, the more control you have over your color combos and your complexity and your realism, right? So there's a really fine line here between, you know, it's just simply Cactus Chenille, dubbing loop, and Guinea fowl. Yes, but, you know, we have a 3-material blend, kind of almost composite loop, you know, synthetic wing going in and all 3 stages that allows you to really control your color, your silhouette, your contrast, all of that good stuff. So I probably bumped up the MicroLon by 5 strands. Not super noticeable. Flashabou blend stayed about the same here. Gonna taper that. And so our first one was very asymmetrical intentionally to build a longer tail and taper. This one's gonna go in about 50-50 on the button to add a little bit of bulk right here in the middle. And then the front is going to be 50-50, but we're going to take about 1 inch off both of these fibers, our Flashabou and our MicroLon. So I'm just going to spin that up. Again, I kind of just go nice and slow. It doesn't have to be super fast here. Come in, pick out that core just a little bit. We want the core nice and low profile because we're wrapping forward and then tying back over top of all this. If you leave the core bulky, you'll create a really nasty thread bump when you're trying to trap all that down a second time. Bring this back like a hackle and walk that forward to our half hitch here. And if this is messy, you can always come in with your hair clip and clean some of that up at least. I got these strands right here messing with my thread. And we're just going to preen that back, walk our thread right over top of it, get nice and close to that Cactus Chenille because that's what's going to flare all that material. And we have this nice ugly thread thread bump right here, and honestly we're just going to hide that and pretend like it doesn't exist. Coming in with some more guinea fowl. Try to save your bulkiest or the longest fibered feather for last to get the nice kind of fullest collar here. Again, I'm going to tie it in right by the tip. Walk that back. Going to do this over a short distance here. Whoopsie daisies. Break that out. Right on top of this thread bump. And just kind of manhandle that hackle right into place. Preening that back. Forcing those fibers back. Trying to get 3 nice turns right on top of this. Got one feather that's trapped. There we go. So that looks a little bit messy, my goodness. I think the difference between a good tire and a great tire is not someone who doesn't make mistakes, but it's someone who knows how to hide his mistakes so that you can't see them. That's kind of what I like about streamers. They're so big, and obviously this isn't that big, it's only maybe 4 inches, but they're big enough that you can make a mistake and just hide it and nobody knows, and it's still tied in extremely functionally and extremely durably. Anyway, we're going to jump this last step here because it's the same as before. Cactus Chenille dubbing loop. All you're going to do is take your fibers and cut about 1 inch off after you've cut them in half. After you've cut them in half, you're going to take them 1 inch off and do them 50-50. And you just want to make sure you save enough room right here at the hook eye that you can build a nice thread head and get everything tied in. And I'll catch you guys for how to finish this fly. Cool, so there's our fly body, right? We just did all the Cactus Chenille, all the Rhea, all the guinea fowls. Now to come in to finish this fly, what I'm going to do is come in with that flash wing, which is 6960. I think it's dyed pearl and black, or it might be peacock. I'm going to come in with maybe 4 strands at full length, cut like an inch off. Give those just a little bit of taper. Drape that 50-50, so equally around my thread here. Oh, missed one of them here. Give me that. And then I'm going to pin that directly dead center right on top. Take the one half, kink it off to the side, take the other, drape it off to the other side, and it'll perfectly veil the back of your streamer. I realize that's a little bit hard to see, but I hope that the commentary made up for it. And that only has 2 turns of thread on it. To finish the head and make it look nice, you got to be a little technical here. You're going to come in with your real fake jungle cock eyes. Hit that with 1 turn. Come to the other side, hit this with 1 turn. I'm tying these in just so you get both eyes on the fly. That's how Paul Miller had his he had real jungle cock, but that's about the length back he had it. Then with just a few turns over that, I'm going to come in front here and line these up so that they're either perfectly on the sides or slightly angled up. So they're either perfectly on the sides or slightly angled up to the side. Come in, cut your tips just behind your shank eye. Spin this so I have a nice round thread. I want to create kind of ridges up and down. It's going to allow me to build the nicest, steepest, fullest thread head. If you leave your thread flat, it'll slide all over the place and try to level out. And then we're just going to walk that down, build that back up, walk that down, build that back up, walk that down. See, this head's a little bit bigger than I'd like, but I don't think the fish will care. If I'm being honest with you, I don't think the fish will care. Come in here, snap that close. You can always fine tune these at the end here. Just touch them. You obviously don't want to loosen them up from your thread pressure. Make sure they're just symmetrical. Keeps your fly riding true. They do tend to deflect a little bit of water. And then we'll hit that with a nice hard heavy coat of C8+ right on the thread. Try not to get it back into the Guinea fowl. It'll make that a little brittle. But that is our finished fly with that flashback, nice black kind of dyed pearl peacock, stinger hook back here. I always tie with the stinger hook on. The loop's not long enough actually to take the hook on and off. It would be, I suppose, if you used a shorter shank or a smaller hook, like a size 6, it'd probably be fine. But with that size 2 on there, I just clip it to my vise. So thanks for watching, guys. That is the Paul Miller Steelhead Fly kind of Flashabou MicroLon variation. And right now, we're going to jump into some really short clips, just sticking some smallies, hopefully give you guys some confidence in this fly. It swims unbelievably well. All of this core is pushing water. All of that Cactus Chenille is flaring all of our MicroLon and Flashabou. It's collared with Guinea fowl, which is giving it bulk, and it's all on this short, the first third of this fly is all designed to push water, create hydraulic, and the last 2/3 of this fly are all accentuating it. And if you tie this fly in the correct density, it hunts, it swims, it has a true swimming action, great articulation of the materials and swimminess of the MicroLon, the Flashabou. You have flash throughout the entire fly, the whole thing shimmering. You got accent feathers at the head, hot spots at the head. And so that's what I want to talk about at the end after you watch a few fishing clips, is kind of predator theory and presentation. We'll see. So check it out, and I'll catch you guys after the fishing clips. Come here. Yes! Oh, yeah, baby.
Not sure why I turned the camera on for this, but here we go. Whoa, my bad, dude. Same fly, just in black. Oh man, this thing's racing around like a tank. I don't think it's that big though. I'll take that any day. It's one of them things that can happen when you're fishing with a stinger hook. This seam right here should have a fish on it. See, we're moving from fast into this nice seam right here. Nice consistent current. Still going down, there he is. Still going downstream. Textbook. Come here, come into this soft water, you dork. Oh, that's a decent fish. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Nailed it. Right where you're supposed to be. Go on back, my dude.
So, smallies ate it, right? Now what's really interesting is this is obviously a steelhead fly. And something that I believe in is that there's no such thing as the steelhead fly. There's no such thing as a smallmouth fly. There's no such thing as a saltwater fly or a freshwater fly. Really, there's specific presentation flies. This is a swing fly. I'll grant you that. It's a swing fly. Aside from that fact that this is a steelhead fly, it swang unbelievably well for smallmouth. Now, something that I hold true is that smallmouth tend to eat the head of a fly. They tend to go for the head to stun it or kill it. I've had the exact same experience with brown trout. Now, what you have to understand is my fishing experiences are all kind of based around big articulated flies, jerk strip retrieves, fishing cross current, or even casting up and retrieving down current. In all those scenarios, the fly's either broadside or coming head first at the fish. Of course they're going to eat it head first. It's the most efficient way to eat something or kill something. But of all the smallmouth I caught, which it might have been a dozen, and I didn't show them all, only one of them was foul hooked. Every single one of them had that hook square in his mouth. And I think the most important thing you can do is obviously is match your hook, your rigging, and everything that you're doing to your presentation. But if you're doing more of a subtle tail first, you're over in front of the fish, you're going over their head, and they're probably gonna come up and nab the tail and hail it from behind, especially smaller forage. Like, they're not worried about choking on smaller forage. They're gonna come up and inhale that thing. And for me to think that all smallmouth are going to eat everything head first is simply not true. I had a lot of success swinging flies with the stinger hook 3 inches behind the head of my fly, and I had really good hookups. I think I missed maybe 2 fish all day, and they were really quick eats. Like, the fly landed and they smacked it. Like, you probably wouldn't have hooked them anyway. And so if you're doing a tail first presentation, I think it's important to have that hook in the tail, because it's relative to the presentation, not necessarily the fish. Smallmouth are head eaters, right? But if you present a small forage to them tail first, they're going to come up and eat it tail first. Like, I don't think it's necessarily always true to put those hard, fast rules on you know, trout are head eaters, smallmouth are head eaters, whatever is a head eater. From my experience the other day, a head-eating first species like smallmouth totally ate, you know, a dozen times coming straight from behind. So I wanted to share that experience with you and suggest that just try it out and see if you have success doing it in swinging flies and that tail first presentation for those species that tend to eat head first. And I think more importantly, it's relative to how you present the fly more so than anything else. So match your hooks, your hook position. People always ask me, should I put the hook in front and the shank behind, or the shank in back and the hook, whatever. Match everything to how you intend to present the fly. I think that's the most important thing. So, thanks for watching. Have a good one.